This story began here, on a large forest clearing, where we first arrived in spring, while exploring our homestead's surroundings. From afar we noticed the bright wood of a stump, and in front of it, a muddy area completely trampled by hooves. Between the trees, remnants of salt were visible. We had come to salt licks, artificial feeding grounds for forest animals. The first salt lick is the stump itself, sprinkled with salt, and the second one is arranged nearby, between trees, by pouring salt on the ground. Judging by the abundance of tracks and how thoroughly the soil is trampled here, and how cleanly the bark has been gnawed off the stump, these salt licks have been working for at least 2 years. At that time, we thought they were made by local rangers, but in a conversation, the head ranger stated he knew nothing about these salt licks, meaning they were made by poachers. A little over a month later, our cabin shelter and workbench with construction materials for future projects at the homestead burned down, leaving behind not just ashes, but a bitter mark in our hearts, as well as a strong desire to understand this situation, and 2 main questions: who did this and why? Today we returned here to carefully inspect these areas and find trail cameras that are often placed at salt licks. With binoculars, such inspection is much easier, and to avoid shaking and vibrations during distant viewing, you can use a simple pole about a person's height as support. We definitely believe that our discovery of these salt licks and the subsequent arson, first of the homestead, then the dugout, are connected. And to completely unravel this tangled, tragic forest story, it's important to first understand, how did the poachers realize that it was specifically us who found their hunting grounds? The first theory that came to mind: we were caught in the lens of a hidden camera installed at the clearing with salt licks. If so, finding it would not only answer the first question, but might also show these people's faces, as it often happens. Trail camera owners periodically appear in their own cameras when approaching or leaving them. However, careful inspection showed there are no cameras here. The hope of finding a trail camera and identifying its owners began to fade. But approaching the edge of the clearing, we discovered something we hadn't seen before. Another salt lick, fresh. Made differently, a section of pipe was placed over a tree stump filled with salt. With rain, it flows down the stump, making it salty and attracting animals. Right nearby, at the forest edge, another salt lick, though this one has no salt. In total, we discovered 4 salt licks on this clearing. And several cut aspen logs lie here. Their bitter bark is so loved by moose, who often continue grazing here for a long time until they've eaten their fill. There are no cameras on the clearing. We're sure of this, meaning the first theory falls away. The poachers learned about us and our discovery differently. Could it be from the rangers themselves? This is the second theory. We're driving east along an old logging road, in places narrow and others barely passable. It leads us to the nearest neighbor. He's not a ranger, but inherited the forest cabin from his father. The head ranger mentioned in conversation that neither he nor the cabin owner had been to that area since hearing about the fire, and were worried about the house, hoping it hadn't met the same fate. We decided to go there and check. Is everything okay with the house? We saw the structure from afar. The house and all outbuildings are fine. We hadn't been here for a long time and decided to look around a bit. The owner mentioned he started building a dog pen, and this is apparently just his frame so far. Otherwise, everything is the same, as many years ago when we first accidentally came here. Perhaps this sign works, but a quick look around shows there are no cameras here. The area is tidy, things are put away, and there's no clutter in the yard. Bedding is stored away. The generator isn't here. The owner rarely comes here in summer. Everything indicates this. We met the owner last winter when he visited our homestead. We talked for about an hour, treated him to strong tea, and parted on friendly terms. He wouldn't have been under suspicion, except for one but. During the conversation, we showed him where our trail camera was placed and explained its shooting angle. Even the rangers didn't know this, and considering the arson was committed from behind, outside the camera's angle, we can almost certainly say the arsonists knew about the camera, which is why they didn't appear in the footage. The arsonists had no intention to steal anything as seen in the initial footage. They didn't even enter the house, and everything that was inside we later found in some form among the ashes. Their goal was obvious: burn and escape, to send us a clear signal that we shouldn't be in this forest under any circumstances. But let's return to the house owner. Considering we ourselves have repeatedly shown our trail camera and its shooting angle in our videos, this owner's knowledge about our homestead camera proves absolutely nothing. It would be wrong to accuse him. In this case, we should talk about our own fault. It's better not to tell anyone about cameras at the house, because a good person might not appreciate such openness, while another might remember and use it. Well, lesson learned. We're heading to the hunting grounds boundary. The head ranger, according to his assistant, gave an approximate location of a new cabin built on public lands. The ranger also suggested that the people who built it might be connected to setting up the salt licks, and, consequently, to the arson, since it's located somewhere nearby. From this small clearing began our multi-day search. We need to understand, was the ranger telling the truth about the cabin? If yes, we need to see its owners and talk to them. And if not, well, maybe this is the ranger's attempt to send us on a false trail and further confuse things, blaming the arsons on poachers. We're looking for any signs of human presence, any clues that could help us understand this. For now, we're inclined to believe the rangers, because last fall and this spring, somewhere far away in the evenings, when the forest is quietest, we indeed heard chainsaws working in this direction several times, but so far nothing, except for one well-trodden path. Only hoofprints mark it. Elk use this path constantly, but people don't. This is also evidenced by shrubs hanging over the path and many branches along the way. People tend to clear their regular paths of such obstacles over time. Elk, on the other hand, clear paths of young, juicy growth mainly from below, while feeding. As if guided by some internal compass and mental maps, elk move along the same paths generation after generation, creating real taiga highways. Nothing. Empty. No signs of human presence. Just many large porcini mushrooms that no one gathers. During our search days, we visited the homestead several times. Firewood was prepared back in spring. The grill grate is in place, which means lunch is happening. From homemade minced meat we make small meatballs, sprinkle them with paprika, and put them to fry. A few minutes over medium heat is enough to get a light crust. Then we can remove them and fry vegetables and the juices left from frying the meatballs. We use garlic, red pepper, and onion, and of course, a good spoonful of tomato paste. After 5 minutes, we add the meatballs back to the bubbling mixture. Now they should soak up the vegetable juice well. A couple minutes before it's done, we add mozzarella cheese. Just wait for it to melt, and the dish is ready. In a way, this is a symbolic meal for us. Soon we'll leave these places and go elsewhere to bring to life many new ideas and new projects. The last meal at the homestead. We replenish our energy and continue our search for the poacher's cabin. Old stumps covered with moss found in the wilderness hardly seem useful. However, their even cuts show that people were once here, meaning they might have left other traces too. On one spruce, we noticed a small wooden box, and only when we got closer did we understand. It's an old trap for fur animals. Its working principle isn't complicated, but quite cruel. Bait is placed inside on a trigger, and when an animal touches it, the mechanism activates. An external vertical spring suddenly straightens, pushing out a horizontal frame. The animal gets caught in steel jaws. This trap was triggered long ago, but no one checked it. Almost nothing remains inside. The trap is wired to a tree. We saw similar wire high on a spruce near our dugout. In a dried up stream bed, old boards are visible. Apparently, they got here during flood and got stuck at a bend. They have no holes, meaning they weren't used in construction, though they look quite sturdy. We need to carefully inspect the surroundings and then go upstream along the dried bed. Maybe we'll find the cabin there. Right here we find several old tin sheets with holes, possibly remains of an old stove. But for now, the old trap, boards in the stream, and crumpled tin sheets seem to us like evidence of old times, echoes of the past, unrelated to the ranger's words about a newly built cabin. Along with searching, we've been cleaning up the homestead. We simply couldn't leave the ashes untended. Amazingly, all the posts of our wooden foundation survived the fire and remained standing. It seems the fire only hardened them, making them even stronger. Today, we can say the same about ourselves. At the time, the pain of loss has faded, and against the backdrop of your tremendous support, dear friends, we felt an unprecedented desire to keep making films, no matter what happens. And we say again, thank you. We'll start a new project on our own forest land, where we'll be full owners. But to move forward, we need to settle the past. All the small debris left after the fire, we carried to a pit at the homestead's edge. Take the stove, pipe to our base, and the unburned wood goes into the fire. gloved hands get covered in soot, but there's not much left, and soon the homestead will be tidy. Noon. The search is in full swing. A bare paw print appears before us. This is definitely an alarming sign, though not from today. We came to a small clearing and smelled something rotten, the stench coming in waves as we moved forward. Going further would be life-threatening. Bears are jealous owners, and if humans appear nearby, they'll never abandon their prey. On the contrary, they'll consider it an invasion of their territory and threat to their food. Bears have excellent sense of smell and hearing, but you can only hear them at the last moment, because encountering a bear at its food leads to confrontation. An attack is inevitable. This smell is a clear signal not to go further. We need to detour. We'll have to make a several 100-meter loop. We came to a small path and saw old axe marks on a birch. Not far from it, a new mark. 2 clean vertical axe strikes at the bottom and 2 notches at the top. Along the entire old path, these axe marks appear. In some places, the bark between marks is peeled, and others not. On this birch, the marks look different. Several crosses at bottom and top, with vertical cuts between them. After this birch, the markings stop. What is this symbolism, and what does it mean? Maybe we'll find out very soon, and the road will reward us with another discovery. However, the discoveries that truly surprised us were found not only along the way, but also in the ashes. In my hands is a heavy tube, hollow inside but divided into 3 sections. We definitely didn't have such an item in our cabin shelter and can't say where it came from. Perhaps it's a homemade thermite igniter used to burn down the house. Many people we've discussed this with think so. What do you think, friends? The house site is cleared of debris. We brought the sand to the homestead even before the fire, for a TAIGA beach. But today, to use it somehow rather than haul 150 kilograms back, we decided to spread it here. Let it make the black charcoal spot at least a little lighter. We're sure soon grass and flowers will grow again on the scorched earth. Soon it will live again. Lines from Victor Tsoi's song come to mind. Amazingly, the stove survived the fire almost unharmed. We'll take it with the pipe to our base, and who knows, maybe it will again become the heart of a simple, cozy forest house. "40 meters from the homestead, we hit a gas lamp and generator to film a segment about lighting the cabin shelter. Well, though that didn't happen, we haven't abandoned the idea, and we'll definitely show what we planned. For now, we load everything into a cart and prepare to leave. The sun burns brightly overhead. Horseflies are everywhere. The constant buzz of mosquitoes is palpable. The birch markings ended, and we came to another clearing. Right at the edge, we saw another old salt lick. It seems they're everywhere here. Now it's clear that the last large mark indicated a clearing with a salt lick, and the crosses with vertical cuts on one birch were a map to get from one clearing to another. This is how hunters mark their hunting grounds, roughly and unceremoniously, carving maps with axes on living trees. Then began something that made our hearts beat much faster. Before us appeared an old road, where we saw both boot prints and ATV tracks, and a car tire made it clear this road isn't abandoned. It's used, occasionally. We know the arsonists came on ATVs, so any track, even old, is another clue, however small, that might lead to the cabin. Suddenly we smelled something, not like before, but familiar. It was the smell of burning. At the road's edge were many burned items, beds, a wardrobe, countertops, and other objects, and a strange canister, similar in size to the tube we found at the homestead, only not burned. We noticed it only at home, when reviewing footage. Maybe you can help identify it, friends. What is it? It burned this year, definitely. Nearby are remains of what might have been a shed or lean-to. They clearly fell victim to time, not fire. The roof is well covered with leaves. Wooden parts crumble in hand. These finds certainly don't match a poacher's cabin. Moreover, after finding the fresh burn site, we wondered, maybe the arsons of our cabin shelter, dugout, and this place are links in a chain of actions to destroy forest structures, possibly previously coordinated with rangers. And the mythical poacher's cabin is fiction to blame mythical poachers. In time, we'll get exact answers. Most trail cameras use infrared illumination at night, easily noticeable at dusk. The glowing red diodes are visible from afar. Animals react differently to the red light. Some flee the camera, others are provoked to attack. But in any case, in poor light, most cameras easily give themselves away with this bright light. Sitting by the fire, we thought about this feature of trail cameras. What if there's a camera at the salt licks after all? But we missed it during daytime. It could answer many questions. Decision made. We're going back to the salt licks at dusk. If there's a camera, we'll see its red diode. The road to the clearing isn't long, but difficult. Abundant mud and puddles make movement very hard. Places, we have to dismount and literally push the ATV along the track. The road has many fresh tracks. This forest is rich with game. With difficulty and not without problems, we again approach the salt licks, hoping luck will smile and we'll find the camera. About 100 meters remain from the road to the clearing, and we'll be there. The heat has subsided, and now at dusk it's easy to spot not just a camera, but animals too. While an elk would just flee in fear, a boar might act unpredictably. But no animals are visible yet. The inspection begins at the first salt licks. We carefully check lower and upper levels. Try not just to look around, but also listen carefully. The night forest is quiet, and any unnatural sounds, chopping wood, engine noise, loud talking or shouting, might guide our search. Smell of smoke from a fire or stove could help too. It can be detected hundreds of meters away or more. But today the twilight forest is silent as never before. Again, nothing. No red camera lights, no foreign sounds or smells. Now it's completely clear. Those who made these salt licks learned about us not through trail cameras. And if not from rangers, then how? Maybe just by tracks of our vehicles leading to the homestead. Our search yielded no results, and it's time to find a place to camp. The only question is where. And in these woods, such a place remains, where large porcini mushrooms grow, and there are no ATV tracks. We planned to take the ski-mounted house to the homestead and convert it to a sauna, but snow melted early and quickly this spring. Fortunately, the little house stayed put. Today, it's intact, and our last refuge in our native forest. Juicy berries at the edge make a great breakfast. There really are many here, as there are no roads or visible paths nearby. No one gathers them. Making vehicle tracks to your forest dwelling is a big mistake. Anyone following the road will find it. Another lesson learned. A new day of searching lies ahead. If we learn who owns these salt licks, we'll understand who disliked our presence so much, who saw us as competitors for their supposed prey. And we must find answers to these questions. Moving along a very old logging road, we noticed a small, overgrown path to the right. Through young dense pines and spruces, it led to a crossing over a small river. An old board, though moss-covered, remained sturdy enough to hold weight. The path continued deeper into the forest. Ahead appeared a roof of some structure. Our hearts beat faster as we moved forward. The path is well trodden, but doesn't look frequently used, covered with last year's leaves, and no fresh footprints visible. Several structures stand in the clearing. A tilted table, a fire pit, and a collapsed wooden frame. The house is covered with thick fabric. The door has no locks and opens easily. Inside are made-up beds for 4 to 5 people, and a brick-lined stove. A small cupboard by the entrance holds various dishes and modest supplies of tea, coffee, and sugar. The house is relatively tidy, but the surrounding area is littered with trash, old, lying for years, and fresh from this year. Tools are rusty and probably unused for years. Someone tried repairing the lean-to by the fire, but time takes its toll, and it's leaning sideways again. Dishes on the ground, a full bucket of trash. It all makes a sad impression. But the first and only hunting-related find, a camouflage net for hiding a structure, a hunting blind, house or shelter. It's literally grown into the ground at one edge. Same fate as the local saw. A rusty, but still sturdy-looking box hangs on a large pine, meant for storing provisions safe from rodents and animals. Inside, however, is the same mess as in the camp. This place's history can be guessed from details. Once it was maintained with simple structures, built for basic forest comforts. Today it looks ownerless, and people who know its location come not to commune with nature, but to forget, temporarily escaping problems while staring at the bottom of glass bottles abundantly left here. Could such people burn someone else's house? Possibly, if they've emptied more than one bottle of fiery liquid. But more likely it seems that sometimes fishermen without rods come here, and certainly without intent to catch fish or game. The road ends here, and we head back. Returning along the main logging road, we saw a blue mark on a pine and a turnoff left. ATV tracks leading where we haven't been yet. After going about 300 meters, we reached a road with many forks, and to thoroughly explore without missing anything, decided to always keep right. We simply hadn't noticed that turnoff with the blue mark when heading to the river, but it stood out immediately on our return. Another blue mark on a birch. From the main road, we turned right. Certain these blue marks aren't random. They definitely mark some route. A barely noticeable road. Another fork ahead, and again we go right. What we saw next was unexpected. Bait of vegetables. Potatoes and carrots look relatively fresh. And here are boar tracks, the main visitors to this feeding station. The vegetables aren't rotten yet, and still firm to touch, so the bait was refreshed recently. A month, maximum 6 weeks ago, maybe earlier. Around the same time, the salt lick was replenished. When we first saw it, there was almost no salt between the trees, but when we returned about a week before the fire, there was significantly more. Soon after, the new salt lick appeared. Now the motive, eliminating neighbors who might witness illegal hunting and interfere with it, seems increasingly plausible. A small but clear path leads from the bait station. Whose path? Human or animal? We follow it to find out. The further we go, the less distinct it becomes. Many small paths merge behind us into one leading to the bait. Clearly, these are boar trails. The boar bait is placed in a dead end. The path goes no further. We turn back. Now at that fork, we'll go left. After a few hundred meters, we arrived here. Another cabin shelter, or more precisely, now the only one in the area. It really exists, and all this time was practically under our noses, much closer than other forest houses we visited. The roof is moss-covered, weighted down with young cut trees to prevent the moss from sliding. No one's home. A perfect chance to inspect carefully, as a place's history can be told through its details. The ranger didn't lie. Another forest dwelling has indeed been built near our homestead. No doubt the boar bait is the work of the house's owners. The house and bait are in the same dead end, just 300 meters apart. The timing of bait replenishment, installation of the new salt lick, and replenishment of the old one around the same period suggests both the boar bait and salt licks belong to the same people. Finding it took much time, but finally before us is what we'd stopped believing in. Twice before, we surveyed the forest with a drone, but the green roof and tree crowns camouflage the house, making it nearly invisible from above. No camouflage net needed here. But now it's before us. The panoramic door immediately catches the eye. Though there are no locks, it doesn't open easily. We enter inside. To the left is a hanging corner cabinet and a made-up bed. Some firewood is stored underneath. The door also serves as a window, offering a view of the approach road. While looking around, we keep glancing at the road to avoid being caught off guard by returning owners. Bricks are wired to the stove. An old table stands in the center, with a small bench behind it. To the table's right is a wooden sleeping platform. A house for two. 3 would be cramped. Overall, nothing compromising inside. But outside we found shell casings. No doubt the builders were hunters. The house's rear surprised us most. Made of freshly cut, unbarked pine. Likely done hastily, sparing no live trees but saving time on processing. Young trees lie not just atop the roof, but are stacked along the roof slopes. Forest inspectors should definitely check the legality of cutting this young growth. As for us, we'll wait to meet the owners for a long, serious talk. On one of the distant Taiga rivers there once were many houses. The river attracted hunters and avid fishermen. Houses were built both along the river and its tributaries. Before the hunting reserve was established and rangers arrived, who committed one of the first arsons. Thus began an endless confrontation between two camps, relentlessly burning each other's houses. And this story seems common to many forests. With the head ranger's permission, we built our house in these woods. We proudly showed it to our fathers, taught children forest stewardship, cared for the woods, cleaning garbage annually, tried living in harmony with nature, yet ended up with ashes without crossing anyone's path. The following month wasn't easy for us. Abrupt project termination, rethinking our path, clearing the site and searching. Days-long searches for answers. Kilometers of roads behind us. Breakdowns and new places, new houses and new stories. Some stand for years, passed down generations. Others lose owners and stand unattended. Become party spots. And new ones, well, each has its own fate. We can't leave our native forest without leaving our mark. We'll never burn others' houses, but at our home site, we want to leave a gift for bears. They dutifully avoided this place until today. Now all restrictions are lifted. A large bush of garden raspberries has found a new home. Raspberries grow well on burned sites, and soon there will be many fresh bushes here for bears to enjoy. As for us, the time for regrets has passed. Time for change has come. Thanks to your help, friends, we'll soon have our own forest land. It all begins soon.